Well, shooters and reloaders out there, Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from the hot lead zone. And let me show you my faithful companion to almost every range trip to outdoor ranges over the course of 43 years. This is my Tasco 10 by 50 binoculars, wide angle. Now, way back then, Tasco had a very good reputation and name for itself as being excellent optics. Japanese optics, of course. Because back in those days, Tasco also made some real fine rifle scopes. But look at this thing. This thing is substantial, it's fairly heavy, it's big, and this could star in a movie on a submarine where the crewman jumps up and gets up on the little conning tower and mans the crow's nest and then takes these binoculars out, because that 50 millimeters of objective lens diameter gathers a lot of light for dusk and near dark conditions. And 10 power is great for marine use, but it's also great for spotting bullet holes at 25 yards. Because in many years of shooting, I did most of my shooting at 25 yards offhand, and it was fun, but sometimes finding 38 caliber bullet holes or even 45 caliber bullet holes, especially in the black, it's hard to see them with the naked eye, so this came in very handy. And not only that, a lot of times other shooters nearby would want to borrow my binoculars to look at their targets, and so I readily loaned them out. These binoculars were really handy out in Weed and Williams, California when we were hunting ground squirrels, because the varmints were easy to see with these binoculars, even out to over 400 yards out. Very handy to have these. So it was time. Look at the beat up. If you look at this objective lens housing here, a couple of dents from being dropped, but it survived all those very nicely. This is a Tasco International wide angle 10 by 50. And the way it worked is you would focus and then use the left eye to focus onto a distant object, and then once that focus was achieved nicely, then you would use your right eye and do a fine adjustment with the diopter to get that in focus. And once you've done that, then both eyes are in focus, and it's a pleasure to use, and you can use this binocular for hours. Recently, when I went to see the Goo Goo Dolls concert in San Mateo, I brought this pair of binoculars along, and it was very handy, but it's heavy for that kind of use. Also, you'll notice that the case that I used to carry the binoculars, what happened was, the first thing that happened was the top flap finally got old and wore off and broke off, but I could still carry the binoculars with an open case. But then the straps broke, so it became hard to carry over your shoulder, but I managed. But finally, the bottom broke out. And when that happened, the case is no longer useful, and that really diminishes the usefulness of these binoculars. Well, I can still use them, but I'm shopping for a new set of binoculars, and here's what I got. So Jan and I took a little trip out to REI, and we looked at the binoculars they had, and I wanted a company that was well regarded. I didn't want a knockoff brand of binoculars. So here's what we wound up getting. This is a Nikon, again 10 power because I like 10 power, but it's 25 millimeter objective lens, and it's that compact foldable type of binocular. Much smaller, lighter, handier, and yet still excellent magnification and clarity under most of the light conditions that I'll be needing this binocular. such as if I'm going to take this out to the range to use to see bullet holes at 25 yards, it's excellent. 10 power is plenty. So let's look at this. Comes with the instruction manual. We'll just put that off to the side for now. Very nice carrying case. Belt goes through there. Pops open, then you drag it out by the strap. And you see it folds up very nicely. It is the Nikon Trailblazer 10 by 25. There's your 25mm objective lenses. And the eyepieces are already set up for eyeglass users. If you're a non-eyeglass user, you just simply crank them out like this, and then you can use your eye against these rubber eye cups. But just like the other Tasco binoculars, you go ahead and use your left eye, look at a distant object, focus the image, and then you use your right eye and do fine focusing with the diopter here. Once you get the right eye focused, then you can go ahead and enjoy clear focusing with the whole binocular. This adjustment for focus is very easy, works very fine, and there it is. It's waterproof also. It's 6.5 degrees wide angle. Well, that's fine, but it's very light and compact. So I'm going to enjoy using this. Give you an idea of the difference in size. There's the compact 10 by 25. And here is the Tasco 10 by 50. Big difference in size and bulk. Now, of course, the big binoculars with the 50mm objective lens does have a difference. The difference is that you can see a 5mm exit pupil, which means the brightness under low light conditions. Here with the compact Nikons, you see a 2.5mm exit pupil, half the size of the larger Tasco 50mm objective lens. This one only has a 25mm objective lens. Well, the eye can only use so much because our pupils are so large as they are. So I found that when I look at this scene now at dusk, the brightness seems to be equal. However, I know that the bigger one is brighter. So shooters and reloaders out there can't show you the images through the binoculars because after all, they are binocular. But they're both very nice and sharp images. Good optics. They're both Japanese optics and they're fine. But unless you're going to go out onto the deck of your submarine and you need to be able to spot those ships in the distance to launch your torpedoes, you don't really need one this big. 50mm is plenty of size for night. But if you're not shooting at night, if you're not using them at night, you really can't use that size of objective. This is much more practical for our use. And not only that, it's just a dandy. Fun to use for almost any purpose. You could just put it right in your pocket. Gonna do fine at the range, so bye for now.